Well, welcome to our fall 2021 open forum for the College of Education and Social Work. I'm Dr. Deisha Williams, the Dean of the College. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Maria Stetter. She is the Associate Dean of the College of Education and Social Work. And we have two wonderful students who have joined us today. We have decided to record this so those of you who could not attend will have an opportunity to hear the conversations that we had. And then we hope when we do this again in the spring, you're able to attend. The plan is to have at least one open forum conversation with students once a semester, because it's important to us to hear from you so that we can make sure that we are meeting your needs. I want to start with just a few items based on last spring's forum. Some information to let you know that your voice matters and that we do hear you. In those forums, one of the things that came out of those conversations was a desire for all of the education majors to have experience and exposure to culturally relevant, culture sustaining pedagogies. Well, I would like to let you know that our programs are now looking at the cultural competencies that were put together by the Pennsylvania, I'm going to say it wrong, Educator Diversity Consortium. They just changed their name, so kind of get all the acronyms together. But it's a group of professors and administrators from different entities across the state who sat down and worked on these cultural competencies. So the professors of the education programs are looking at every course within our education preparation programs to look for alignment. Once those alignments are made on a course by course basis, the program will sit down together to say, okay, where are the gaps? And then where can we fill in and what changes do we need to be made? That is also being done for technology, because we know the importance of not just knowing how to turn on a particular piece of technology, but how to integrate it for education of K-12 learners. So that alignment is being done as well. So that was taken from some of your fellow students' comments, as well as a new state requirement. So the state hears you too. The state just revised what's called Chapter 49, which is the guidelines that all preparation programs have to utilize in developing programs. And so within that, Chapter 49, something called culturally sustaining education is mandated, and which includes culture sustaining pedagogy, cultural awareness, trauma-informed instruction, and technology. So those are, and then there's some other things, but those are the things that align with what we are talking about today. The other thing we talked about is communication at our last meeting, in ways that your programs already communicate very effectively with you, and through emails, through in your courses, through different, some of you guys have your own websites. So we talked about how if there's college level information, the university has ways of communicating, but if there are college level information that needs to come out, what is the best way to do that? We talked about Remind 101. We said, do y'all guys really read your email and check your email on a regular basis? We talked about putting it on social media, but then it gets missed because of the way social media scrolls. If we put it on the website, will that be useful? So we still have not come up. And so this was all part of that conversation in the spring. So I can't say that we came up with an answer to that. So I am still looking for options and ideas of best ways to communicate college-wide information. There's always not a lot of it, but we definitely want to get that information out to you, but also how to receive information from you. And this is one way that we want to receive information from our students, is through these open forums. So this is a question to Jewel and Jacqueline, who are our students here. I'm going to put them on the spot. One suggestion has been for the dean to create a video every once a month, once a quarter, or something like that. Just information or just a communication, whatever is going on. How will that, what is your response to something like that? Is that something that you would find useful, beneficial?
I can go first. I think it would be beneficial, and I would watch it and hopefully other students would. I don't know about maybe once a month, maybe like every other month, if that makes sense. Like once a month might be like a lot.
Okay.
So I definitely think it would be useful. I believe it's called like the First Friday video that the
Yeah.
president actually puts out. I know there's been a lot of mixed opinions about that, like not like the content of it or anything, just in terms of like whether people just see it as like just another like email. So while I do think a video would be useful, because I think having stuff like explained to you is always much more useful than like looking in an email, I think like the advertising of it is definitely like because I know you were mentioning just with like communication in general, like which options, like I personally think that you absolutely cannot over communicate anything, especially for anything regarding education, because there's just so many, particularly for education, and like I'm not super familiar with social work, but I can imagine it's completely the same. There's just so many details that you cannot miss in terms of like sequencing of classes or clearances or just anything. There's so much like fine details. One thing that I'm thinking in terms of like if you were to like use video communication is definitely having a clear archive of it as well, because I know if it was my first time clicking an email and I saw like a video and I was just kind of like, oh, what is this? Because if I just happened to like miss the previous one or something like that, having an archive to see like what, like a list, I guess, in order would definitely be very helpful with that as well, just because again, like you absolutely cannot over communicate in any way.
Yeah, that is awesome feedback. Thank you. Well, can you introduce yourselves to our viewing audience, please?
Yeah, so my name is Jacqueline. I'm a fourth year. I'm actually a Bachelor's of Arts Language and Cultures major with a Spanish concentration with the K through 12 education certification. So I'm not technically an College of Education and Social Work student, but I'm still a future educator. So it's that fun little in between.
Well, we're glad you're here today. And Joel, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jewel, and I am an elementary ed major, and I have a minor in special education and youth empowerment and urban studies. And I'm also like in the SGA, so I'm the senator seat for the College of Education and Social Work.
So she is your liaison and your voice. So find Jewel if you have things that you want to get back. She meets with the dean's team. How often? I can't remember. Is it once a month or
Yeah.
monthly? Yeah. So that is a great resource to communicate information as well. Maria, Dr. Stetter, would you like to introduce yourself and give some more background?
I'm Dr. Stetter. I'm the Associate Dean, as Dr. Williams mentioned. I used to be a special educator. I used to be a professor of special ed. Very happy to be here and support students and faculty.
Great, thank you. So that's kind of catching us up from our last meeting, because I really always want to let you know that these meetings are not just lip service. That's why we want you here, so that we can hear from you, so that we can take those information and find ways to at least either address them and incorporate them, or give you some response, to it. So that's one thing. The next question that we had, and you guys have to be the spokesperson for your fellow students today. We kind of wanted to know, we're back, we came back face to face in August. How's everything going? What are you hearing? What's going on? How are you guys doing?
It's Jewel, we need to like communicate who's going to speak first, I
Right.
guess. I can say, coming back from August, having taken courses last year virtually here, I think like first and foremost, people are very happy to be back. A shocker, education and social work majors are happy to be back in person. But the response I've heard overall has been very positive. I know in my I'm currently in, I believe it's EDT 349. It's the 1 credit technology course. I think just like the conversations that we've been having in that class and stuff like that, being back into that in-person setting, comparing it to, and with all of my classes really, just comparing it over Zoom, it definitely is great to see how like the live time reactions, I guess, spark different conversations. But then I guess in a comparison sense, it is interesting, like over remote learning when almost everybody used Zoom, how people could use the chat separately. So it definitely is interesting seeing the pros and cons, and it's interesting in like education courses, particularly talking about how remote learning techniques are affecting that. But I think overall, the response obviously is positive. I think especially in terms of field courses as well, people are very happy to be back in the classroom. I know last semester I was in EDA 304, and while my professor was absolutely amazing, while the field replacement videos served their purpose and served great conversation, you absolutely just cannot replicate that. So I know speaking with some of my peers and other secondary ed classes who are in that class this semester, they are getting, speaking to the EDA 304 course who I've talked to, they are getting a lot out of having in-person field again.
Great, thank you. Hi, Ava, welcome.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I went to go get dinner at like 5:30, and of course Sykes was taking forever per usual, but
No worries. I just want to let you know we are recording because we're going to place this for the students who are not able to attend. Okay. Jewel, did you have a response?
Yeah, it was good. Like students are liking the in-person classes, but they're finding it hard, like if they are feeling sick and they don't want to get, like they don't want to expose other people, you know what I mean? Like they're just like have a common cold or like a flu or anything like that. They don't want to go to class and like make other people sick, but they also don't want to miss class and have the information that is being said in class missed, if that makes sense. Like sometimes what teachers say in class is on like the exams, or they want to have it in their notes. So finding like a balance between, you know, being safe, but also getting your work done and going to class,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And let me just respond to that. We want you to stay at home if you are feeling ill. Many professors, not all, but many professors are allowing the high flex. So always check with your professor to see if you can Zoom in to their class when you're feeling well enough to attend. Now, if you're feeling really bad, you can't learn when you're just, really feeling bad. And we wouldn't want you to, try to overexert yourself and attend class while you're feeling, really bad. But if you're just saying, oh, I think I feel bad, but I want to be on the safe side, of course, always be on the safe side. But then check with your professors to see if it's a possibility for you to high flex into the class. So that is definitely an option. Thank you for that. Thank you both. Ava, what we were getting feedback on is how things are going now that we're back face to face. If you want to add anything to that, if not, I understand.
I don't really have any, big feedback. It's just obviously coming back from being virtual all year, and then, I'm a freshman, so just starting at a completely different school in person. I mean, it definitely was an adjustment, but I mean, I think I've gotten, used to it by now, so I don't really have anything to add.
Well, great to have a freshman. What's your major?
I'm a dual major, so I'm early grades prep and special education.
Excellent, excellent. We're glad that you joined us today. So the other question we have, and then after I ask this question, Joel, we'll get to the questions that that you may have, and as well as Ava and Jacqueline. The other question is, how can we at the college level, your programs are doing a phenomenal job supporting you. I mean, the professors just blow me away with the things that they come up with to support the students, both academically and effectively. So at the college level, what can we do to assist you in your journey more?
I think like communication with a lot of things, like you were saying, like the videos and getting information out. I think that's a really good way. And like obviously it's hard because you said the problems with communication and like putting things out there, but I think that's a really good way to like make sure students know what's happening within like the college.
Because even like this today, I'm wondering, out of the 2,700 students that we have in the college, we have 3 here.
Yeah.
So
Like,
what?
Like
What'd you say, Joel?
like people's schedules are hard. Like they might be in class. Some people are in class now.
Right.
So that's another, yeah.
So, but my concern is how much information did they see it on social media? Because we put it on social media, we emailed it out, we put it on the website. Was it even seen? If people had other obligations, that's one thing. But if it was not, if they didn't even receive the communication, that's a different task that we need to work on.
Yeah, I know like people in the like PSCA, I know that that was being shared there, but like I don't know like other than that like if it was being shared elsewhere because I know like another student who's like in the same major as me and who's not in the PSCA, I don't think like she, knew about this.
Okay, okay. Jacqueline?
Yeah, I was going to say, and then this is speaking, like I mentioned, strictly on being not technically being in the College of Education and Social Work. Which I can speak generally to this later, but I was going to say, definitely just increasing. I think what I see a lot of like with language and culture students with the Ed Cert is just almost not like there's something missing, I guess, and that's kind of like why I was really excited to come to this tonight, just because because you aren't like your MyWCU doesn't say that you're like a member of this college or whatever. I think students don't always take as much advantage of all of the resources as say students who are, because the degree title is like second or bachelor's of science education, secondary education English, or like secondary education mathematics. So I think just whatever like the level of disconnect is, I think students in like language and culture students who have the education cert, who are obviously just as excited to be in a classroom as any other secondary ed major, with us, and then with history too. I've seen with some of my history education friends because it's the same deal. I think just increasing communication to those students on behalf of the College of Education and Social Work and saying like, hey, even though your advisor's like title technically isn't under this, just kind of increasing the idea that we are still like would benefit from the same resources and programs and stuff like that that official education and social work students would.
So how did you find out? How did you hear about tonight's event, Jacqueline?
Jewel is absolutely amazing. I am also an SGA and she has been working so hard. She's incredible and got this event going. And I was like, I absolutely want to be there. I want to support you. And I truly did want to hear from the college because again, it's one of those things, like I can tell you anything going on in the College of Arts and Humanities. I can tell you Mitchell Hall, I lived there, but.
Gotcha. Okay, great. So Joel, what questions did you have for Maria and myself?
I have like a couple. One was like with certification and clearances, when should students like start doing that? Should they like start doing it? Is it like a yearly thing? Or is it like a semester thing? Like they were just confused with all of that information and when to start.
Okay, I'll let Dr. Stetter, can you answer that? I know we are in a interesting place.
Yeah, I am in an interesting place and apologize for that. Trying to have a work-life balance is very interesting, but I highly encourage it. So clearances are done yearly, it's my understanding, and I think the best thing to do, there are certain information sessions. I know that student teaching, it's a year out. That's the really important one to attend. So a year before you're going to student teach, there are several available sessions that you have to attend that lays out everything for you. So questions like that can also be directed to the Office of Clinical Experiences and Candidate Services, though your professors should be able to tell you some of that in information specific to courses as well.
I'm going to share my screen to show what you're talking about. So on our website, lost my mouse. If you go to the college's website and then go to student services, under student services, you have candidate services, which talks about clearances. And then you have clinical experience, which actually talks about signing up for your actual clinical experience. So here under clearances, you go to teacher education preparation, and it tells you the next deadline for spring clearances is January the 3rd. And it has all the information, the requirements for clearances, all the instructions that you need. It talks about the TB testing that's required as well. For teacher candidacy, we actually have a new video that we have put in place to help walk you straight through teacher candidacy and all the components that you need for teacher candidacy, which that's typically done in the sophomore year. But it talks about all of that there. And maybe that's a good place to start with some of our videos, is a walk through our website of where things are located.
No, yeah, I definitely think that's a good like video starter, where's everything and how to get to it. Cause like, I don't know if, at least I didn't know. And I don't think know if like a lot of freshmen, maybe you can talk about this, like if a lot of freshmen know about that or things like that. So I think that'd be really good.
Next question from any of our students, any other questions you may have.
I actually have a question.
Mhm.
So I know for me, for this upcoming spring, one of my classes is EGP 220, which is a field placement class. And so obviously, we'll most likely be placed in a school where we'll have to, get some type of transportation. So I wanted to know like kind of how that works, because as a freshman, we're still technically like not allowed to have cars. So I wasn't really sure like how that would really work out in terms of like how we would get there.
Well, that's with the field placement, and Dr. Sutter, please correct me if I am misspeaking. A lot of students, they carpool together with people who, because they try to place more than one student in a school location. Also, they carpool together, they ride share together. Some placements are actually close enough that people walk, to they walk there. We do have some small, hear me, very small needs-based, but they still help, every little penny counts, right? Every little penny helps. But some very needs-based scholarships that we can do for transportation as well. So we do have those. That's what I know how students kind of work with that. This is, which class is it? Is this stage 1 or stage 2? Do you know? Of field placement?
I'm not sure.
Because if it's stage 1, it's going to be video based.
I think EGP, if you're in EGP, what is it, like 209 or right now? Or
I'm in EGP 209 right now.
yeah,
and then
that's like the
semester-
video course. That's what we're in. Yeah, that's the video course.
Okay.
So this, I guess, would be like the second stage, they would call it.
Right.
'Cause
And
like-
those very few. Yeah, the hours are very few in stage 2. It's once you get to stage 3 and student teaching that the hours ramp up.
And your professors are very aware that you're not allowed to have cars. So I have heard them speak about arranging carpools and figuring it out with students. They want you to have the experience, and it's a good idea to have the experience early, to check in with yourself that this is what you want. And they work with you with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's another question that someone gave me was, with being like a dual major, some people are dual majors, like education, elementary school education or middle grades, and special education. How would the student teaching, like when they get to student teaching and placements like that, how would that work? Would it be like split one semester they're working in one, or would it be just like, how would the placement work for that?
Did you want to take it, or you want me to go ahead and take it?
I can give it a shot, and then you
Go
could
ahead.
help me out.
Tag team.
Tag team. So the student teaching semester, it's very common for students to have for the first half 1 placement and for the second half a second placement. So if you have both of those areas that you're focusing on, half of your semester would be in the one, and the second half, the second 7.5 weeks, 7 weeks would be in the other.
Thank you. I'm just writing all that down.
But again, this is why it's so important to go to that information session the year before student teaching, because Mrs. Beaver goes through everything imaginable about applying for student teaching and what to expect at student teaching so that you're very prepared for that. And then there's also one right before you start student teaching. So we do try to, we're not just leaving you out there on your own. We have lots of information sessions where we try to get you ready because we want you to succeed. We know you can. And these sessions will really help you do that.
And then I have one more question. Some students in different classes, the teachers aren't having like a Zoom option for their class. And they are like missing, because like, so one student was like sick for a week and they missed all that. And they were like obviously communicating with the teacher and getting notes and things like that. But they like didn't know how to approach, be like, if asking the teacher if they could do a Zoom, if that makes sense, like if the teacher could hold a Zoom for them or maybe like record the lesson that they're doing, but they didn't know how that would work, if that makes sense. Like,
Well, I always say the best advocate for you is you. And so, you know, the faculty members do have the choice of providing HyFlex or not, because, you know, it's additional things and it's different pedagogical reasons why some are doing it and things like that. So if a student has an excuse illness, then they definitely are able to, you know, make up all the work that they missed during that excuse illness, and they just go through the student assistance office to get that taken care of. But always just go, your professors are really open and they're really there to help. So if you just say, you know, hey, Professor, you know, ABC, this is what's going on. I need some assistance understanding this material. Can we get together? Can you help? Can you send me a video? Can you talk to me? You know, whatever. There's lots of different options. But faculty members are very open because they want you to succeed, you know. I can't tell you how many, I call them my proud mama moments, even though they're not biological, my kids, when I see, you know, students that I have prepared to be, I was a secondary math teacher and I prepared secondary math teachers. When I see them becoming teacher of the year, I mean, that's like proud mama moment there for me. So your professors have those same moments, you know, so they want you to succeed. So the professors are there to help you.
thank you. Yeah, that was my last question for the thing.
Any other questions from Ava or Jacqueline?
I have one, and it's really like specific, if you don't mind. So I was just checking because I'm wondering if it was updated, because I know a lot of language and cultures major students have run into this problem, and then I just checked and I think it was updated for history as well. But so with the certification, a problem that a lot of students run into is that EDF 300 is not, as of right now, on like the certification list, a required course. However, that is a prerequisite for EDS 306. So a lot of students have run into issues there, not knowing whether they need to take it, whether they don't need to take it. I know after reaching out to like 6 different people, was able to just get enrolled into EDS 306 and just kind of like demonstrating like, here is my understanding of the courses I have to take, and it's not one, can you kind of bypass it for me? Because I had a friend in history who had the same problem, and it was like him, me, and his mom all on the phone together trying to figure out like how to create a schedule. But I guess my question is there, the reason I ask, because as an upper level course, as like courses, because EDS 306 is only offered like 2 specific times, and because language and cultures classes tend to only be offered like one section of one class, students do tend to be like very on top of scheduling and stuff like that, especially with like study abroad. So I guess my question is, should, like, in terms of scheduling and stuff like that, like, is it best for students to just kind of like know and start to communicate with advisors to just take it along to get the prerequisite? Is there like how to help students out in the future with approaching that? Because I bring this up because I do know that this has been something that I dealt with, something that a lot of my peers have dealt with. Like,
Right.
it's, like I said, super specific, but
Yeah, and I'm not going to give you a very super specific answer though. So,
mhm,
your advisors are definitely the person that you need to have a very straightforward conversation with. Those of you guys who are in language and cultures or history, you typically have two advisors. So that means you have to communicate with your department in language and cultures or history advisor, as well as your advisor on in the education side of the house. And that those conversations can help to mitigate some of that anxiety, confusion, and stress, because that's definitely stressful when you know you're trying to get out of there and you want to get the classes you need. But making sure that you meet with your advisor every single semester. Do not self-advise. Students who self-advise find themselves having like more hours than they need to graduate unnecessarily, which means more money out of somebody's pocket. So, make sure that we are meeting with our advisors every semester. And that's definitely one way. And I'm glad this is being recorded because I want to go and really digest what you said, and I may have a better answer later because I don't know the course numbers and all the prerequisites that goes with them. So I want to see if it's specific to all of our programs or just certain programs or what. But that would be my advice, is definitely reach out to your advisor, and if you have more than one advisor, to make sure you reach out to that education advisor. I have run into students who would meet with the advisor of outside of the college, and that person don't have all the nuances that go with education. And then they never meet with the education advisor. And now they're way down the line, like you said, their senior year. And they're like, oh, by the way, you can't graduate in the spring because you missed 3 hours back in your freshman year, kind of thing. So definitely meet with advisors.
mhm. For sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, if anything else before we close it out? I definitely want to thank you guys. Thank everybody who's going to watch this. I want to thank our students for coming. I want to thank Dr. Stetter for coming. We will have another one of these in the spring. So watch for the communication. And we're going to work on that first video to try to get it out either before the end of the semester or probably during winter when we have a little bit more quieter setting around campus where I can do this video of kind of looking at what's on our website. And know that the website will be getting a new makeover, just like our full website did. Kind of like, wow, it changed on us October 25th. The college is supposed to go through a similar change in February. So we'll do it once, but we'll probably have to do it again as things change. I know we have some social work students that hopefully will watch this video as well. I will be meeting at the Philly campus on Monday at 6 o'clock. For students, it is open to all students, but it will be at the Philly campus to address the needs of our Philly campus students. So I thank you again for coming. It will be zoomed and recorded as well. But thank you for coming, and you guys have a fabulous evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.